Hey guys, welcome back to Genshin Interact. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the 4-star banner lineup. Since we just got announced the 4 stars on Xianyun and Nahida's banners, we're going to be looking at them and kind of further looking into the value of the banners. We already did have our to pull or not to pull on Xianyun and Nahida. I'll have that linked at the top of the video. You can go there and check that out. But in this video, like I said, we're going to talk about specifically the 4 stars and how that can kind of affect even more so your pulling options and just how good of a pull is it for you?
Did you lose a recent 50-50 and not have enough primos to keep going after that 5-star? When you looked at the Genesis Crystal shop to feed the addiction even more, did you feel a little bit guilty? We all know that gacha games tend to revolve around spending money, and that can kind of be a turnoff when looking at some of the prices. But thankfully, there is a better alternative with Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a platform that takes games' prices and drops them for you. They provide cheaper recharges for all types of games, including Genshin Impact. Now, you might be wondering like we were, wait, is it safe to use? Lots of people have had positive experiences. We personally have used Loot Bar to top up Genesis Crystals on our own accounts and have been very satisfied with the results. Because of this, your mind can rest at ease since it does not go against Genshin's terms of service. Other content creators have partnered with them in the past and use their product to this day, so hopefully that can bring even more credibility to them. We do want to thank Lupar for sponsoring today's video, so are you ready to save money and win those 50-50s? Head over to lupar.gg to start saving today. Now, onto the video.
So going right into this, we're going to look right at Noelle first. So first off, the 3 4-stars that we have are Noelle, Faruzan, and Gaming. Gaming being the new character, of course. And I will say it's very interesting having Faruzan on here just because she seems to be one of those niche characters that would go with specifically Wanderer, kind of like, Goro with Ito, Kujusara with Raiden. But we'll talk about her right after Noelle. Looking right at Noelle, though, honestly, I think she's a very, very great 4-star, even before Fontaine, but even more so with Fontaine and, specifically Farina and a few other things. She's gotten a lot of buffs just from things like HP drain with Farina, and then Noelle having the mechanic in her skill that allows to heal your entire party over time, making it very great to help Farina's fanfare stacks, but also just making the overall team's damage increase, and it just works so well. And I think it's a great banner. If you don't have C6 for Noelle, that's really where she starts to shine as a DPS, and she's just a great option. Now, I will say she's not meta defining or anything, but I will say for me personally, I have built her and I've kind of maxed her out to an extent, and she gets me through certain floors in the Abyss every single time. I don't throw her on floor 12, of course, but she gets to floor 11 easy peasy, and it's a lot of fun to play her as well. But Vixen, what are your thoughts on Noelle and maybe the value of having her alongside Xianyun, Nahida, and some of these other 4-stars?
Well, I think it's really great to actually see kind of her coming back on the banners. I know that if, unlike me, you actually still have, or don't have, sorry, the Noelle banner still up, I still have that on there because I've kept it up there. Now it's just a complete meme. But in terms of like looking at Noelle, you've gotten her most likely, considering on that first banner that I was talking about, I think you do 28 quaint pulls or whatever, and you can spend primos on as well. But you can get Noelle pretty easily, and it's a pretty high chance to get her as well. So I'm pretty sure that most people should have her at this point in time, and I think that kind of makes the most sense. And it's really nice that she works on both defense and attack, because at the beginning of the game, you're not really focusing on a lot of stats. You're just trying to focus on surviving, trying to make teams work, doing a lot of damage, keeping your levels up. And that's kind of all that matters, is basically just trying to get through the game until the late game, until AR 45, AR 50, where you can really start to think about all these other things. But usually we start to see these characters die off that are kind of meta early game, and especially back in the day when the game first came out, you're seeing all these characters that weren't that great then, now they're great now, like the 4-stars, and then the 5-stars are kind of dwindling off all the standards and whatever. They're not terrible, but they've definitely got power crept. And so seeing Noelle as, instead of being almost cast aside with Fontaine and with the new versions coming out, she's kind of getting this buff, especially with a combo with Farina, and looking at Marershaw C. Hunter as well is something that's kind of nice to have and see her kind of using a combo with. So I think everything just in general about her, she has a shield so she can protect herself. Her ult is really nice. She's based off normal attack. She can work with Xing Cho. She can work with a lot of normal attack and proccing units. Honestly, I just think in general, having Noelle and using her consistently in any types of different teams, and you even talked about using her in the Abyss, is great as well.
Yeah, she definitely has a lot of different team options. She's very easy to use. She has a very long uptime on her burst. You just pop her burst and she can go on for a long time. Reminds me of characters like Sino, Alhaitham, just, characters that have very, very long uptimes. Sometimes you don't even need to use the full uptime. So, and she has that. And I think that's, there's just a lot of value to that as well as just ease of use to where she's just kind of, you throw on your supports, get all your buffs going, and then you just pop off with Noelle's burst until either you need to go through your rotation again. You usually run out of your buffs up times before you run out of Noelle's burst uptime. And another cool thing about Noelle's burst is that if you switch off her, you don't lose her Geo infusion. You can come right back to her and she still has it. So it gets its full duration, whether or not you're switching off the character or not. Whereas if you have like Sino, you use Sino's burst and you switch off. And same thing for Raiden. There's a lot of characters that do that kind of thing. If you switch off, they lose it. And even some infusion characters like Yoimiya, Hu Tao. But my point is, once again, the ease of use with Noelle is very high. And for me personally, she's very fun to use. So if you like that playstyle of using a Claymore and that Geo Infusion, maybe you pulled Navia, she can be used off field. We have Chiori coming up, but that's all a little bit more, other discussion. My point is, at the end of the day, she's fun. She's pretty good for a 4-star and pretty easy to use. But next, we're going to be looking at the next 4-star, and that is Faruzan. I mentioned her a little bit earlier ago, but I think this is great. First off, we have this new character, Xianyun, that we already know is anemo and is going to help plunging attacks. And who's the first character we think of with plunging, right? It's Zhao. And before Xianyun, Faruzan was the last new anemo character that specifically helped Zhao and also Wanderer. But, this just makes this banner, especially for Zhao mains or even Wanderer mains, and there's more we could say about Xianyun even because, like, who says you have to use Xianyun with Zhao and Gaming? Like, plunging damage in the game is just a naturally high multiplier. So, Xianyun's going to be a good pull for essentially a lot of characters. And once again, Zhao mains rejoice at this banner just because Faruzan on here. If you don't have that C6, this is the perfect opportunity to try and get that C6. Maybe you're close to that. Maybe you're C2, C3. You can maybe try to get that. You get your Xianyun, and even constellations on Nahida. Like, I don't think you can go wrong. If you don't have that C6 on Faruzan. Anyways, Vixen, what are your thoughts on Faruzan's placement on this banner? Did it kind of surprise you by her showing up on this? Just because, like with Goro, Ito, Kujosara, Raiden, I kind of thought of Faruzan as being only with like Wanderer or Zhao.
I don't know. I kind of was half suspecting it. It was built on to put onto a support character, and usually you don't see this type of thing. For instance, Shenhe with Ayaka, you would expect the 5-star support to not have any necessarily like other supports to make this banner even better. We just had the idea of a Zhao that's going to be coming up soon, so that's kind of interesting to see. With his type of thing. And so it's kind of interesting to figure out, considering we're going to get Xianyun now, get Zhao later, we have Faruzan, and it's almost like you kind of can get ready and set to go here, get all your supports rearing and ready to go, and then go for the, the biggest, anemo DPS right now, and that would be, Zhao in a second. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about Wander as well. He's great, he's solid, but I think it's really, really cool to talk about Faruzan on this specific banner because, like you were talking about, Zhao is the first person that we think of, and I absolutely love Zhao. But the thing is that Zhao is going to be really good with these two characters. Obviously, the extra plunging damage, and with Xianyun helping with that, and then you have Faruzan with the C6 is even better. But even still, in general, giving the ability to have some of the buffs that she can give. Off of just, whether or not what she uses, but she can give the anemo resistance as well as an anemo damage bonus just from her burst. Once again, gets even better with the actual constellations that she gives. She's just a great character overall to have among different anemo DPS characters, and even looking at 4-stars, I know you love to talk about 4-stars Rift, and there you go with Heizo. I was even thinking about it, if I had gotten Xianyun, or if I do, not only am I going to be using it for a Zhao team with Zhao, Xianyun, Faruzan, and, just throwing in Bennett or something in there just to see how high I could hit numbers in the Abyss or something. Or if I was going to focus on someone like Heizo, where I could do the same setup and see what I could do with him. So there's some really, really cool stuff among really what Faruzan can do. I do think at the end of the day, though, she is kind of good to be just in general placed in different teams. her burst does help anemo damage and anemo resistance and whatnot, but she also can swirl a lot because of that burst and because of her skill as well. And throwing her on a lot of energy recharge, she can be a really good battery. So with a Viridescent Venerer set on her, so I think she has a lot more usages outside of just being an anemo specific buffer. But I do believe that is her best way to help the team.
For sure, it's definitely kind of what a lot of people would consider her niche, especially if, getting that C6. It's one of the more valuable C6s to have on a 4-star among several others. But next up, we're going to be looking at our last 4-star, and that's the new 4-star Ga Ming. And I'm pretty excited about this. We already know we're getting a free 4-star selector, and he will be included in that because he is a leeway character. So that's already very exciting. That gives everyone the chance to have a free Ga Ming if that's the character you choose. So essentially everyone gets a free Gaming if you can think of it that way. But also constellations are going to be very, very good from him. We've already heard from a lot of other content creators and just leaks about him. And, looking at his kit up to his release, his constellations seem very, very good. He's going to be a very solid hyper carry type unit, especially when you get that C6. I've personally seen a lot of creators talking about his C6, or basically a C6 Gaming having very close to the same potential as like other 5-star carries like Ayaka, Hu Tao, or you name it, right? And so I just think that's kind of crazy. But at the same time, we're getting further into the game. This is the new 4-star. We've already seen power creep with 5-stars, like probably some of the most insane power creeping. I don't know about you, but I think one of the biggest examples is Nervalet to like Ayato or Child. To me, that was like a massive power creep, and not a bad thing. It just makes me like feel like, oh man, I should have pulled Nervalet. But I think Gaming's going to be a great 4-star. I can't wait to get him. I personally am going to choose him from the selector because new character. I already have all the other 4-stars. And maybe who knows if I can get some constellations. That would be nice too. So what are your thoughts on Gaming?
I'm extremely excited actually to see Gaming. I really like the idea of that he's basically like the epitome of like the Chinese. He's basically their representative, and I think that's really really cool, especially during the Lantern Rite season, and really looking at all of
Yeah,
that. It's just
definitely.
really really cool to look at. Honestly, amazing artwork for the character. He's just a cool looking character as well. He's kind of got that Hazo vibe almost to him, but also just like extremely
Yes.
like outgoing and almost like a Yoimiya and Hazo got like slammed together, which it's just a really really cool, to see that constant difference. Some lightheartedness and positivity as well, but I really like the ability that he's focusing on plunging attacks, and he's kind of like a 4-star version of like Diluc. And what I mean by that is that Diluc has the highest plunge damage in the game, at least for scaling, and that can kind of be a little bit, it's basically kind of like a 4-star in that sense, only for like the high plunge type damage that he can really do. But
Right,
even
right.
still, I'm even looking at their talents right now, and a Diluc plunge at a high plunge is 442%, damage just straight up, and looking at Gaming, his specific high plunge damage is 317. So there's a big 100% damage difference there. And these are all at level 10, by the way. But then if you look at Gaming's skill and look at the plunging attack damage that comes from his skill that he does, which is the main area that you're going to be using your actual plunging attack damage, it goes up to 415% or 414.7. And that is just absolutely, nuts to me to see that he's basically almost on par with Diluc, at 442. Gaming's at 415. So both of these being
Mm-hmm.
crowned, I think the idea of it is just really, really cool to see a character just come out of nowhere and do something really cool. I don't know if it's going to be based off of vaporized teams, especially working with someone like Farina. If you throw some other characters, like once again Shan Yun, throw her on a Viridescent set, you're getting the swirl, helping the pyro damage go higher. You're getting Farina in there, getting the fanfare stacks for helpful damage there, then vaporize hits, and then if you throw in just another Bennett, you've got some resonance and a great attack boost. All of these things coming together to just see him do really, really cool things, I think. I don't know necessarily that he'll be something that'll be thrown into the abyss at floor 12, and I'm sure there will be plenty of people that do so, but I think he's just going to be a really fun character that we can enjoy, and especially getting a free character in 4.4 with the selector that we get during the Lantern Rite. I think that'll be really fun for at least me to get him as well, just kind of play around with what I can with him.
Yeah, it's definitely very exciting. And to add on to those multipliers you brought up, I thought that was very interesting to see. So thank you for bringing that up. But and then I thought while you were talking about that, I'm like to myself, this is outside of his first and second passive talents, but then also the constellations, right? I already mentioned earlier that with constellations and up to his C6, he's going to be such a great hyper carry. So, like, I feel like he has the potential to out DPS Diluc in the plunge setting, right? And I think that makes sense. He's kind of tailored to dealing plunge damage, and he can already plunge without the use of Shan Yun, whereas Diluc would need the use of Shan Yun. But in both scenarios, if you're going plunge routes, use Shan Yun if you have her, obviously. But it's just kind of crazy to me. Like, he's going to be really good, and I'm very excited to see all the team builds. Like you were saying, Farina, Xianyun, Bennett. I think that's a solid team right there. I can't wait to see other interesting variants that, I'm not thinking of. I just can't wait. He's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm extremely excited to really see what he has going for him. And yeah, like you're talking about, seeing how maybe possibly with, the different constellations, he might surpass Diluc. Well, thank you guys. I think that's everything we've got for this video. Please go ahead and like and subscribe, and check our Discord as well. We do have a Discord going on, and I believe there's going to be a Twitter linked somewhere, anywhere at this point in time. But please do go ahead and like and subscribe the video so you guys know you like this content. But besides that, that's everything we've got for this week. So we'll see you guys in the next one.